A little bit, I'll keep teasing her and said, I don't know why you did this. I think this was better. So little, I tease her also. What can I do? I'm just an actor. No, not this I say. So it's fun.
I'm going to start with your most recent and stellar outing at the box office, Gili Pucci, one of my most favorite films of this year, Konkona. I'm going to start by asking you about that scene right at the end, that expression of Bharti when she's sipping out of that steel cup. It's sheer perfection. Talk to me a little bit about just creating that character and also specifically that scene. What were you, how did you go about it?
You know, I was very excited to get this script to begin with. I mean, I love Neeraj's work and I wanted to work with Neeraj. And when I read the script itself, it was so powerful because it was talking about so many things, but also it was a beautifully crafted kind of a revenge story almost, you know. So, and everything leads up to that last scene. Like everything is just, working its way to reach that point. To be very honest, that last scene had so many dialogues that I was only worried about all the dialogues. I was only like, oh shit, I have so many dialogues to learn. So I was concentrating a lot on that. But for me, the most important thing was, this little twist that the film had. That, this character used patriarchy to deal with the casteism that she faced. That itself was just such a unusual and fantastic thing that I hadn't come across earlier. Sneha, all of that is written into the script. It's not like, the things just happened. All of that is written into the script. The steel cup, the tissue from that cake scene, the used tissues, all of that is actually written into the script. So it's so important to have a really well thought out, well written script. I just wanted to add.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, just want to get a little bit of insight into how you approach your characters. Do you approach them inside out or outside in? For instance, did the walk and just the posture of Bharti come to you first, or did Konkona get to know her core first? How do you approach them?
I think I'm not exactly sure. Firstly, I'm quite adaptable in the sense that, different directors have different ways of working. So if you have one fixed method, then sometimes it can clash with, the project that you're currently working on. So it's not like I have any fixed one method as such. Overall, if I had to say, I think outside in helps because right in the beginning, how do you get to the inside? Like, right from the start, you're not already inside. So a nice approach is to work from outside to in. And I remember that happened with Mr. and Mrs. Iyer. Because and with Mr. and Mrs. Iyer, by the end of it, I remember whenever I would put on that yellow sari and those heels and that bag and the baby who's actually my adorable niece, I would be like, oh, now Mrs. Iyer. So even with this, like we did the look test, and I find look tests to be very useful for getting into the part. I mean, of course, it's useful for everyone. The director and the cinematographer and everybody, obviously costumes, etc. But it's very useful for me as an actor because, I have to feel comfortable in those clothes and, what you're wearing determines how you are standing or, how you're...
You had that little scarf at the wrist. I just feel like it added so much.
I was also very deeply influenced by Erica Linder's performance in a film called Below Her Mouth.
Okay.
Which is a lesbian love story. And Erica Linder is such a fan. I can see some nods in the audience. But Erica Linder, I just adore her. She's Richie Phoenix on Instagram. And her character and her performance really left a deep mark on me.
You're a national award-winning actor, and yet you've had no formal training in acting. Very often you've referred to yourself as an intuitive actor. That sounds wonderful, but I want to know a little bit about what that actually means.
I intuitive as opposed to, a lack of formal training, I guess. So a lot of it is I try to relate to my character. I have said this before and I often feel that, I think we individuals already have everything inside us, like all the emotions, all these feelings are already there. At different times, different things come to the surface. Mm-hmm. And so even whether it's Bharti or whether it's, other characters that I've played, I feel like I have those people inside me anyway. Maybe it's not been tapped, maybe it's not come out, but those things are already inside me anyway. So I've kind of tried to find a way to relate.
In an interview, someone, actors were just asked about how, and there's this actress who talks about how things are changing for women and the roles are so much better. And you step in to say that this is something you've been hearing for the past 20 years. For someone who's been around 20 years, congratulations. What is the ground reality? Are scripts actually getting better for women?
I think there are still a lot of not great scripts for women. Mm-hmm. But occasionally you do get, like, for example, Dolly Kitty, which I personally loved my character. I really loved Dolly because it was a very unusual character for me to play. I hadn't played somebody who was, so irresponsible and not irresponsible, but who just like didn't necessarily live a very morally upright life.
Yeah.
Since she was lying, she was cheating, she was stealing, etc. So, I mean, there are a few more of those. So in that sense, so I guess it's expanded a little bit. So there's still the bad, but where it was only the bad, I guess the bucket has increased a little bit to include some little good as well. But we have such a long way to go that I am very loath to kind of say, things are better. Because I don't think that maybe overall, I don't know if things are better. I mean, maybe there's been some slight improvement. I mean, there have always been some very progressive films, even 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you had some very progressive films. So maybe it's improved slightly.
No, but you also talk about how you don't really have a burning desire to direct films all the time. You need to be really obsessed with an idea. May I ask if there is an idea that you're perhaps currently obsessing over?
Well, briefly I obsessed about this idea about like motherhood and technology. Is a very kind of vague way of putting it. I did write a short film about it, but then there was Lockdown 1 and then Lockdown 2. So I don't know what's going to come of that.
I also want to come to a little bit about the rules of engagement when working with family. You've been directed by your mother. I'm curious to know how that pans out. How does one not end up taking creative differences back home? How do you make this work?
So it's not like, it's just something, I think I've worked with her on like 4 or 5 different projects now. And it's been quite easy, I have to say. I think part of the reason is that a lot of it is thanks to my mother, who is a very unusual mother. She's an unconventional, unusual mother. I'm blessed to have her as my mom. In our family, we don't really have a generation gap, in that sense. Like I'm able to be myself around her. Like even when my friends come.
Sorry, someone from the comments says that The Rapist was the 6th collaboration.
Thank you.
You worked with her more than you even realized, which is wonderful.
Firstly, there's a deep trust. There is a shared aesthetic sense overall. Of course, we have differences. It's not like we have exactly the same taste in the arts and culture, etc. It's not like, but a largely overlapping sense of taste. So that helps. There's a lot of trust. There's a lot of faith mutually. And we let each other be the person who we want to be. I think that really helps. It's not like I'll agree with her 100% of the time.
Sure.
In any case. So, but when I don't agree with her, what will happen is that I would usually, there's a lot of time you don't have to voice it on set because, before that there have been look tests, there have been trials, there have been readings, there have been workshops, there have been discussions, So there's plenty of opportunity to say that, this thing I was thinking that I don't know if it's not really sounding okay. Why don't we try this thing? What do you feel about? Like those kind of things can be ironed out earlier. And, she may be like, why? But I don't think that, why this is, whatever it is, that we can. And at the end of the day, I also know that it's her film and she's the director, So I will, and it's my job as the actor, once I have undertaken that commitment, to give her what she wants. So I will try to smooth out in the prep phase, pre-shoot, if I have any difficulties, And then little bit I'll keep teasing her and said, I don't know why. I think this was better. So little I tease her also. What can I do? I'm just an actor and all of this, I say. So it's fun.
How do you just muster the will to keep bettering your craft 20 years on?
Yeah, but I'm not looking at it like that. See, I'm also not a very overconfident kind of a person. Every time before, I'm like really nervous. Before the shoot, every time I'm like, oh shit, now first day and all. I get very nervous. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like it's a kind of,
It helps maybe.
maybe it helps. I'm always like, oh shit, I don't know why I've convinced everybody I'll be able to do it. God knows now I'll have to do it. So inside I'm dying sometimes. So I prep a lot. What I've started doing nowadays, and it may help other people whose first language or whatever is not Hindi, is I nowadays ask for my dialogues to be recorded in Hindi. And I hear it well in advance. I keep hearing it in advance, because then wo baith jata hai, then it's like, acha, then the cadence, like, and I know I won't end up saying it like that because I don't know, I have that thing. I'll say it in my way only finally, but at least I'll hear it. I'll keep hearing it. I'm used to it. Like people who are native speakers of the language, they think in the language, they have heard it in their household or around, they've watched in the movies. So there's a huge advantage over there. So that is something I do a lot, and I prep a lot. So I'm not overconfident. I will keep learning my lines. I keep rehearsing my lines on set.
If you could introduce 3 of your best works to your son, which ones would you pick?
That I've acted in.
Of course. Or directed.
Watch Death in the Gunch first, because I feel that's the most me. That's me. Mm-hmm. Then I would ask him to watch 15 Park Avenue. That is the film and the performance that is closest to my heart. And I guess maybe Doshor, which is Rituparna Ghosh's film. And I guess maybe Gili Pucci or Mr. and Mrs. Iyer.
He's got a lot to catch up on, I assure you.
First of all, I want to thank everyone. This was a great conversation. I don't know, ma'am, if this means anything, but I really appreciate your work and everything that you've done. Because I think so, we don't appreciate the artists that we love. And I just want to say this, and I think so, I echo what everyone is thinking right now, that whenever we see something that is done by you, I think so, everything seems much more achievable. So yeah, I want to thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you so much.
The question that I had was, it was in particular with the movie 15 Park Avenue. Now, because it was a very taxing movie as a viewer as well. So the question that I had was that, and as you said that, I think so that is a very personal movie to you as well. So how was the experience of that movie, and how as an actor do you come out of that role? And is there still a part of you that is still in that role? Because it was such a taxing role and such a captivating role.
I have to say that I was very lucky because we have somebody in our family who has schizophrenia. So in a way, I have actually seen this at very close quarters, like since I was a child. So it's like I've prepared for this role all my life. And schizophrenia has many different ways of manifesting. So not every case will present itself in the same way that we have depicted in the film. But again, there was a very liberating experience because not only did I not really have to worry about hair makeup, but also I never had to worry about the parameters of reality. So I never had to really worry about, like, I'm talking to this one person here, but I could just switch off and start imagining something else, So that was a very unusual thing to have to do. So I really enjoyed inhabiting that character. It made me feel very close to my family. And I think it has remained with me, not just the character, but also the way we reimagined her future. Because in the film, we gave her a happy ending where she goes into her hallucinations. So it was really not a very realistic kind of an ending. And I'm so happy that exists, at least in my head. Because otherwise, I only have, this family member and the fact that she is suffering from schizophrenia. But thanks to this film, I also have a reimagined life for her. So it's somewhere very deep inside me still. And I think that, I don't know how much she is able to actually have interactive relationships, but it's definitely made me feel close to her.